Hello, and welcome to our second live podcast here at 88.9 Radio Milwaukee, MKE Arts Live. Tonight, our show is going to be all about arts education. And to kick it off for us, we have a young singer from First Stage, Reese, to sing Home.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home, I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. Wind that makes the tall grass bend into leaning. Suddenly the raindrops that fall, they have a meaning, sprinkling the scene. Makes it all clean. Maybe there's a chance for me to go back now that I have some direction. It would sure be nice to be back home where there's love and affection. And just maybe I can convince time to slow up, giving me enough time in my life to grow up. Time be my friend, let me start again. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its face, but I still know where I'm going. I have had my mind spun around in space, and yet I've watched it growing. Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it taught me to love, so it's real to me. And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like yours, like mine, like
Again, that was Reese from the First Stage Children's Theater. Another round of applause for Reese.
Reese!
She was performing Home from the upcoming production of The Wiz by First Stage Children's Theater. My name is Adam Carr. I'm your host here at MKE Arts Live. This is our second episode. This show is a celebration and showcase for the arts in Milwaukee, which is a constant kaleidoscope of amazing people, performers, and organizations around the city. And today's theme is arts education, and I feel honored to be sitting next to one of Milwaukee's most amazing arts educators, Dinorah Marquez.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so Dinorah, you're sort of the founder, you're the maker, you're the director of the Latino Arts Strings program.
That's correct. Yeah.
So in your journey of arts education, can you take us back to kind of how you got into it? Yourself as a child and your first forays into creative expression.
Well, I was really fortunate to, I think, like many children who come from very difficult backgrounds, to land in a place where some really generous hearts were available. Anyway, I moved to the United States from Mexico, so I was an immigrant child, and it was tough because in addition to not speaking the language, I didn't fit in. We didn't fit in. You know, children can be a little bit difficult as well, and so being chased after school to go home and arriving at home and there's violence at home. Anyway, essentially what happened is I met Mr. James Angerstein, who was the orchestra director at the public school, but who also was just a kind and loving person. And I found out soon that the instrument that he put in my hands became the haven. That I could go home and be playing this instrument, and that was the only time at home when violence did not erupt. So I have this motto, violence instead of violence. Yeah.
So I've had a chance to spend some time with you and study your bio a little bit and learn about your background. You kind of had a couple careers in there before you circled back then to being an arts educator, landing here in Milwaukee, and then connecting with the UCC and starting the Latino Strings program. Can you talk about then how you sort of translated those important experiences from your youth of having violins as a haven for you and then offering that to the community?
Well, it was really wonderful because I met up with the United Community Center about 16 years ago. My husband, Raul Deal, had an exhibit there. And all I saw was this beautiful potential because they're always showing the wonderful children that are part of their programs and their schools. And I just saw a place where I could finally give back what I had received. And so that was it. I mean, the whole idea was I was blessed by being given this musical possibility, this art, this place to be safe, this place to create. And there was this amazingly beautiful group of children that needed the same thing. And many of them probably have the same stories that I've had. And that was it. It was a place to give it back.
So when you put out the call, it's a new program, what did you think might happen and what actually ended up happening?
Well, I mean, in my heart, I thought everybody would want it, but in reality, I mean, I think the agency thought that it wasn't going to be that many people that were interested. I mean, I was offering violin lessons, and so in an entirely Latino school, and I just gave a pitch for 5 minutes in front of the parents of the school, and by the end of the meeting, I had 100 applicants out of a school that at the time had 400 students. So it was pretty amazing. And every year since then, we've had at least 100, if not 150 applicants for the spots that we have.
So we're about 5 minutes into our interview, so there are probably 100 people out there that are thinking, I need to pick up the violin right now. So then you've kind of been the steward of this community for 15 years now. So that was a while ago now, and you've built a program. Can you talk about growing that community over the last 15 years?
It's so funny that you talk about it that way because everywhere I go, that's what we talk about. The community isn't just created within the students, but it's the whole program is a little bit different because the focus that I have with the music is yes, to train children with European classical music as a way to develop their chops, but really to explore our music, the music of the Latin American roots. And that element is what then brings in the families into the fold of the child's learning, brings the children into the fold of their parents. And so then that community grows. And then one day, about 5 years into the program, I had a parent come up to me and said, "Ms. Dinorah, you don't know what you're doing." Okay, I guess I probably don't. And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "You've created something for the community to be proud of." And I just started crying. I'm like, he was so adamant about that. And I didn't think of it that way until he said that.
Sure. And such an important thing, sitting in 2017 where we are right now, to have that kind of cultural rootedness and offering that within a community. So I think it's always the case, I'm sure you'd agree with this, we can talk about the Latino Strings program, but almost always better to hear it for yourself, right? So can you give us a chance to, what are some times when you'll be performing soon that we could go and see them?
Okay, so first chance right now, that's a public possibility, and also gives everybody a chance to do something wonderful. We're having a fundraiser for Mexico and Puerto Rico, and it'll be this Sunday at Turner Hall, and you can have the information at the United Community Center website or the Latino Arts website. And so there'll be a lot of great music. De La Buena and other folks are going to be there. And the Mariachi Juvenil, which is our flagship group, is going to be performing.
Cool.
And the other one is on November 3rd at the Latino Arts Auditorium, just here on the south side. We have Jarabe Mexicano coming to perform for our Day of the Dead performance. And we always join the visiting artists, so we'll have a big part of the performance and joint performance with them. So it's a great concert. People usually walk out of there just really happy. Some of them crying because it really is a really wonderful thing.
The first time I interviewed you and I got to experience them when I worked at 88.9 as a producer, and I cried just thinking about it. I actually went back into the interview yesterday. I went through my archive and I found it and I got a little misty.
Oh.
So, all right. So, we're more with Dinorah in a moment. We could continue talking forever, but we're going to go on a field trip right now in our minds through the magic of video production. So we're now going to go to a rehearsal with some first stage children's theater students as they're getting ready, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is actually now opened, but this is them before the show was open, getting it ready. So let's go to the video.
I'm Paige Landrum, and I play Jemima in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. She's a very fun character. She has this great imagination, and she's very hopeful about everything. But I got there right away. The teacher was like, hello, big hugs and everything. We just sat in a circle and just talked, and it was very like a welcoming environment.
Hi, I'm Jack Jutine, and I'm Jeremy Potts in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I started going here at First Stage, the training academy for acting, and I really liked it, so I decided to audition for a couple shows, and eventually I got into the first show, and then from there I just kept auditioning and kept getting into shows.
There's nobody that's going to judge you, and everybody's just loving and supporting, and you get there and it's just all hugs and smiles. Like, I always know that I can just, text one of my First Stage friends or call somebody. So
I was really nervous at the beginning, and they just were so nice and so kind, and they made me really feel like it was a great place to express and have fun there.
Theater is like stepping into a whole nother world and experience new things like I've been able to carry on in my school life and home life. So my favorite part is just becoming someone else for 2 hours on stage.
My favorite part about First Stage is meeting a ton of new people and just making friends there. It's really easy to make friends here. You can really express yourself through theater, and it's just theater is great, and First Stage handles it so well. It's just a ton of fun.
So Chitty Chitty Bang Bang will be on First Stage's theater until November 5th, so you can go out and check out that show. Now we're joined on the panel by some incredible people in Milwaukee. Vedale Hill, founder of Jazale's art studio. Round of applause for Vedale. Tom Matthews, principal of Trowbridge School. And Julia Magnasco, the education director at First Stage Children's Theater. All right, so the first question I have for you guys is this is an opportunity to publicly thank an arts educator in your life that you're grateful to, someone who may have changed the direction of your life. So let's just go through real quick, and you can say thank you to someone that really mattered to you.
One? Just one?
You just get one.
My uncle, Richard Fabian, thank you. He taught me art could be taught anywhere in any moment.
Cool.
When I was in 6th grade, Miss Lewandowski, my music teacher, taught me that I had a voice and that I could sing, and encouraged me to audition for the Milwaukee Players production of Oliver, where I got a part in the chorus and the gang, and that led to the Conservatory of Music Children Choir, which led to the Symphony Orchestra Chorus at 15, and I currently sing with St. Francis of Assisi's Gospel Choir. And so thank you, Miss Lewandowski.
Steve McCormick, who is now the education director at La Jolla Playhouse, but he used to be the education director at First Stage. And years ago, I told him, I want your job. What do I do? And he really mentored me and set me on a path. And ultimately, I'm his predecessor.
I'm going to butt into this one. I'm going to thank Mark Foreman, who is my art teacher at Milwaukee-area Elementary School, who now works for the Homeless Veterans Initiative. And I just had a chance to see him not too long ago, and it's just amazing sometimes artists and the other lives they live. So, okay. So arts education is our big theme today, and that actually is a more vague term than we've been treating it. It means a lot of different things, and I think each of you practices arts education in a slightly different way. So tell us how you do arts education.
Yeah, so first stage in our education and outreach programs, we end up reaching about 800 classrooms every school year with arts integrated programming. So we teach the art form while we're also teaching through the art form, connecting the drama process with a traditional curricular subject. So really ultimately trying to enhance both understanding in the art form and traditional curricular subjects. And most importantly, I like to think we teach artfully, because everyone knows that good teaching is a work of art.
At Trowbridge Street School, we supplement our arts instruction with just about every major arts organization in the city. So I'm going to take this opportunity to thank the United Performing Arts Fund. It is their 50th anniversary this year, and without their fundraising, we couldn't bring organizations like First Stage into our school. When First Stage comes, they do a pre-performance, so the kids learn about what it is they're going to see. The kids go to the performance, and they do a post-performance. And oftentimes these lessons really give them a chance not only to anticipate what they're going to see, but then to reflect on what it is that they've seen, and ultimately changes who they are as people through these experiences. We work with every major arts organization in the city, and I find that very fortunate. We're able to get our kids out into the community, but we invite these organizations into our school community as well. And it's that give and take that I think really makes for a strong arts integrated program.
Yeah, for me, at Jazale's, we really try to educate the entire child through an artist. So we try to match make the young people with an artist that fit a lot of their life experience, so that they may learn how they learn and begin to educate themselves through their experiences. And through the lens of an artist and art projects, they're able to look at any situation and solve it creatively, whether it be a difficulty in life, a difficulty at home, in school, in your neighborhood, transportation, whatever it may be. We try to get them to think artfully, and we're not trying to create the next Van Gogh or Pollock or whatever. We just try to get them to use art to become good people.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think in the arts and what you're doing and what we're all doing, I think, there's an element of what I call, or other people call, the butterfly effect. You know, there's this notion that if a butterfly flaps its wings way somewhere or far away, it can begin the energy to create a hurricane somewhere. And so I don't think that a lot of people realize that what we do has that effect. I mean, I know it had it in me, and then in my family, and then in my students, and then in their families, and so forth. So it's the sustainability that we're talking about is also financial, but I think it's definitely internal.
So I bet when you guys tell people you teach art to kids that they're like, oh, that sounds fun. And I know for a fact a lot of all your jobs is not being with kids teaching them. It's grant reports, it's a lot of work just to open those spaces, and holding those spaces can be really hard. So for you, what's the payoff on that? What's the reward? When do you find, when we were talking before, you said some days your face is tired from smiling. What are those days for you? Because I know that some days your faces are probably tired from grimacing from all the rest of it.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm fine with not knowing, because 20 years down the line, this student, in my mind, or this young person or adult that I work with, or one of the artists work with, may naturally just think this way about solving a problem. So they can't give thanks because it's so natural for them to react in a creative way or a really thoughtful way that those moments you can't really identify. And I'm absolutely fine not getting that letter in the mail saying you've changed my life, but to see their success in any field, in any way, to see their happiness is what I'm doing it for, and I'll smile all day no matter how tired I am if it makes them smile 30 years from now.
Sure.
I think about a student that we had. He's now much older, but when he was in K-5 in an MPS school, we were in his classroom with a literacy residency, and he was selected to not speak. And his teachers were really struggling with whether they were able to pass him on to the next grade or not, because so much of the early childhood evaluations have to do with oral language and being able to know, what he knows. And they were struggling with this, and First Stage started coming into the classroom, and he started participating. First of all, just through movements, right, very physically, but eventually he started speaking, and his teacher came up to me, and she's like, "This is the first time I've ever heard his voice." I mean, it's all right? And then he got so confident, he started directing the rest of his classmates when we weren't there, right? Yes.
Sounds like an artist.
He found his voice, right? And I think that is the power that the arts have, right? To be able to help young people find their voice. Now, for this child, it was truly his voice. But, right, to be able to gain ownership, to be able to stand up for ourselves, have that courage, have that empathy and connection with others. I mean, that's why we do that, and it's so powerful, and it is just, it's worth everything.
I had the arts changes people's lives, and children's lives especially, and I had the opportunity to run into a former student from Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts, and I had heard he was playing drums with Hall & Oates, and I asked, "Are you out on tour with Hall & Oates right now?" Because they were on their way to the Bradley Center, and I was trying to get in free. And he said, "No, I signed a retainer with Sheila E." And his name is Wesley McVicker, and he said, "I'm playing with Sheila E. in Chicago." And I figured if you played drums with Sheila E., you must be a pretty good drummer by this point. Yeah. But that's one of those success stories. But on a larger scale, just the difference that I've seen in the climate of the building. Our children are more empathetic, they're more sensitive, they're more caring. I've seen our suspension level drop. I've seen our academic achievement increase. I've seen our attendance increase because they want to come to school, because there's a reason for them to come to school. There's something that they're going to enjoy and love about their experience in our school community.
I can go for that. Yes, can do.
Yes.
It's a Hall & Oates joke.
I think you want to lead the glamorous life.
Glad I got to use that. I'd written it down. I didn't know if I would have a chance to use it. Okay. So, Katie, are you out there? We are now going to take some questions from the audience. So if you're out there listening, this is an amazing panel of people. I know we've just touched on the very tippy top of an iceberg. If you have a question out there, raise your hand. Katie's got a hand mic. She will walk up to you
I won't
and let you
bite.
ask a question.
There we
All
go.
right.
Remind me your name, woman who is the director of Latino Arts.
Oh, Dinorah Marquez.
Please, if you would, share with us a little bit about the pitch. You said you made this pitch, and people had told you no one's going to be interested, and then you had 100 people signing up, or kids signing up afterwards. Love to hear a little bit of that pitch.
Oh, I don't think I remember the exact thing, but I guess that I believe so firmly that music saves lives, that art saves lives. I was so enthusiastic about what I was about to start on, and that I knew that there were children there that, like me, probably hadn't had a chance to develop those talents and probably had a lot of pain in their lives. I was just really emphatic. I love the way you speak because it's so exciting, and I'm trying to lay low here because I already talked earlier. But man, when I'm excited about what I'm trying to do, I just get it right across. And I think I must have just really shared that joy, that love, that excitement of knowing that this was going to transform lives. And so parents were like, yeah, here, take mine.
Do we have more questions?
Got a couple questions over here.
Going as fast as I can.
In addition to funding, what do you find to be one of the biggest challenges to the arts programs in this area?
If I could speak from a public school perspective, there's a teacher shortage right now, and there's especially a shortage in the areas of visual arts instruction, music instruction, dance instruction. It's just something that people are not choosing to pursue, unfortunately. So it's difficult for us to attract and retain teachers in these areas, which is why we really count so much on the local arts community to supplement the arts instruction in our building. We do have a visual art teacher. We do have a music teacher as provided by the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music that teaches African and Caribbean drumming. But there's a real need there for teachers in these areas.
I think we're going to start breeding some of those teachers in our programs.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So we actually see that as an issue, like this matchmaking idea of you can't necessarily pursue it as an arts education career because how faulty the foundation is for that. There's so many cuts that it doesn't make sense financially. And often you have to find that instructor that's passionate about it. And it's usually someone who's in that field anyway. Like the visual artist, that art instructor is usually like a painter. And for dance, it's usually a choreographer. So that's what we're doing at Jazale's now, is we're actually matchmaking with the arts community in the education community. And we have our first artist in resident at St. Vincent Pallotti, and it's a year-long residency for visual arts.
I think you're right about that because if you have the right people and the right, excitement going on, what's going to happen is that the children are going to, or the young people, or whoever is doing that, the art is going to really express that. And then the folks who may have not been interested in funding these programs, they see this. And that's been our experience, that once they see what it does to the children. I mean, people come up to me and they don't just say, wow, they sounded great. They say the joy in their eyes, the way they stand, the way they carry themselves in this world because they have this. That's what people want to support. So I think that's a big part. If you have people like yourself and like your Vedale and yourself just excited to do it, then I think people will come to support.
So speaking of the joy in the eyes of young people as they perform, we are going to have a performance here to wrap up the show. This is our grand finale. We have 4 young performers from the Danceworks Mad Hot Ballroom and Tap program. They're all alumni. So we have Tatiana, Wanye, Nyla, and Miles. They're taking a position, and we welcome them. They will be performing a cha-cha from De La Buena, or to a song by De La Buena, and a swing and salsa medley.
I went to a party the other night. Well, they were dancing beneath the lights. Well, they were swinging like they used to do, just like back in 1942. A swing dance party that night. It was a swing dance party, you know it was out of sight. Don't you know it was out of sight? Well, I felt like I had to back time. But Whitney used to ride a taxi for one thin dime. They did the Balboa and a Lindy too, just like back in 1942. It was a swing dance party that night. It was a swing dance party, you know it was out of sight. Don't you know it was out of sight?
¿Sabe, papi?
Again, that's Tatiana, Wanye, Nyla, Miles, and their instructor, Jackie. One more round of applause for them. So a huge thanks to the United Performing Arts Fund for sponsoring MKE Arts Live. Let's hear it for UPAF. I just wanted to make a note, through its Notable Women program, they donated a record $600,000 to support member groups' educational programs this year. So round of applause for that. A huge thank you to 88.9 Radio Milwaukee for being a production partner on this epic creative. Then also Vedale, Dinorah, Tom, and Julia. Thank you guys for being here. Reese as well. Reese from First Stage for that incredible song. And that's it for the second episode of MKE Arts Live. Next week we're going to be at MyEd, just across the river. And see you next week.